I'd like to cut you some breaks, but unfortunately with these body cameras and everything, I'm just going to do what's...
Sure.
What any other... Alright, you want to do field sobriety tests?
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
And another one gone, and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey.
Hello everybody, welcome once again to another video here on the Junkyard News. And in today's video news story we have a major mistake. How one police officer's life has changed and not for the better, and how the mighty have fallen. In today's video we highlight Major George Draft. Now this major of the Columbia Police Department has spent quite a few years serving the department and the community, rising through the ranks with a reputation for being tough. I'm sure he has handled some of the most complex cases, mentored young officers, and always prided himself on being a leader who led by example. But on this particular night that we are going to speak about, the man who once upheld the law found himself breaking it. Now this story probably started out with the major at a simple gathering. Maybe just a few friends swapping stories over drinks at a bar. Major Draft probably told himself he'd only have one, maybe two, but then turned into three, and maybe that turned into four, and so on. And before he knew it, the clock was striking to closing time.
Closing time. Finish your whiskey or beer.
And as the alcohol settled into his bloodstream like an old familiar companion, I'm wondering to myself, did he know and understand what he was about to do? Now the major could have called a cab. He could have called one of his fellow officers. He could have called one of his closest friends. But instead, this major chose to slide into the driver's seat of his car, probably ignoring a little voice in the back of his head warning him against it. After all, he was Major George Draft. It's possible the major thought to himself, I don't have far to go. It'll be fine. I'm okay to drive. And as he navigated the dark streets, all of a sudden, the flashing red and blue lights he saw in his rearview mirror most likely gave him a chill that most average people feel when they see a squad car behind them attempting to pull them over. And I'm sure it jolted him into a little bit of reality. I'm sure his heart started to pound. And probably a sinking feeling clawed at his chest as he pulled over, gripping the steering wheel, his breath thick with the scent of alcohol. Now the traffic officer, upon pulling him over, probably did the normal routine. Probably walked up to the vehicle, touching the back tail light, walking up to the window and saying, "Good evening, license and registration." But at that moment, the officer's light caught something on the passenger seat, an open container of alcohol. And that is when the words came out of the officer's mouth that most drivers do not like to hear. "Step out of the vehicle, sir. Have you been drinking tonight?" I'm sure at that moment, Major Draft swallowed kind of hard. You know, he had given this order 1,000 times before. He has probably watched men and women comply with the knowledge that their lives were about to change forever. And now he was the one opening his door, stepping onto the cold pavement, and feeling the weight of his own choices crushing down on him. And at that moment, I'm sure, Major Draft did comprehend that sobriety tests were just a formality. Most likely, he declined.
You're a police officer, you should know that. You should know the rules. And can't be drinking. I'd like to cut you some breaks, but unfortunately with these body cameras and everything, I'm just going to do what's...
Sure.
What any other... Alright, you want to do field sobriety tests?
No.
Alright, you know what's going to happen if you don't want to do field sobriety tests, right?
I do.
Alright, stand up here, put your hands behind your back.
I think they're in this neighborhood here off of Woodside Drive.
Palms together.
Because he understood at that moment that before any test were to even begin, he had already failed. And when the traffic cop decided it was time for a breathalyzer, the major promptly refused. And I'm sure at that moment, the traffic officer instructed Major Draft to turn around and place his hands behind his back. And I'm sure, as the major sat in the back of the police car, the same place he has placed countless others, do you think Major Draft felt a little bit of shame? Did he feel the bitter realization that no badge, no title, no years of service could erase the consequences of one terrible choice. And I would hope as the car pulled away, the major closed his eyes, knowing that it wouldn't be long before the headlines would come out all over the news. Columbia Police Major arrested for DUI and open container, and that he would be highlighted on the Junkyard News. Thank you for watching this video here on the Junkyard News. Here's a news clip about this event. Be careful, people. I'm telling you, especially you officers out there, because you never know when the next choice you make or your next interaction with a law enforcement officer brings you to the channel, and we highlight you in our next video. Thanks again.
Columbia Police Department Major George Drafts was arrested and charged with DUI in Myrtle Beach on Wednesday night. Drafts is being charged with DUI as well as transportation of alcohol in a motor vehicle with the seal broken. Per CPD's protocol, Drafts has been suspended without pay pending an internal investigation. His next appearance in court is set for March 26th.
Videos uploaded by the Junkyard News are helped in part by viewers just like you. You can show your support for this channel by clicking the thumbs up, sharing our videos, or hitting that all-important support button on our channel page. Don't want to miss a video or a story? Make sure to check us out and like us on Facebook at The Junkyard News.